Hey, 12-inch MacBook. 12-inch piece of crap. My least favorite computer. One of my least favorite machines in the whole wide world. Might as well turn this on so I can hear stuff. Screw 12-inch Retinas. I agree. Screw 12-inch Retinas. They're my least favorite computer on earth. Okay. Yeah, just to open this piece of crap, like, look at this. When you take this off, there's a little cable that's sitting in between the two, right? I don't know if you can see that very well because my lighting is garbage, but there is no lighting. Yeah, you probably can't see that. But as I'm opening this up, there's a little cable that comes off, and it's very easy for people to rip that. Not kidding, I got one here where that cable was actually held together by little bits of Scotch tape. Scotch tape. Will you hire me? I could be the fuck-up that makes you better from all the rework you have to... No. No, I got enough. Why do you hate them so much? Starting even just with opening them, just the mere act of opening a 12-inch Retina is annoying. Brings sadness to my day. All right, so come on. Come on, you little bastard. Let's move the microscope out of the way a little bit. Just burn it, someone says. Yeah. That's one way. Now, one thing to understand, a lot of people unplug the battery on these when they don't have to. There's actually a little button that says battery disconnect that I would show you if I was a professional and had a camera that shot in here. Let's see if I can actually show you that. So on the motherboard, there's going to be a little button. And the button is, who am I? You can't see that. Yeah, let's change the camera over to auto for a moment. See what it does if I... Yeah, so inside there, right by the battery, there's going to be a little button right here that's battery disconnect. And I hit that button before I get started on the machine so that the battery is disconnected, which escapes a lot of people. Dropped frames. Yes, I use Time Warner. Yes, I use Time Warner. I pay for 20 megabit, 460-something after a month after tax, and I can't even get 10 of it. Let's lower the bit rate and see if the frames stop dropping. Yeah, that's Time Warner for you. $400 fucking a month. All right, so back to where I was here. Let's just move this around. Obviously, you should use duct tape. I agree. What happened to Lewis's office? I changed where the camera is so that I have more table space over there. This part of my office, those are where the donor boards are. That's crap that I have to clean. Those are photo albums I actually have to bring home that have nothing to do with work, that I just haven't made the time to. What happened with the YouTube advertiser friendly meet? Oh, that's coming up later. We haven't had the advertiser friendly meeting yet. All right, so I'm going to push the button for battery disconnect, and that should be good. Now I'm going to pull out this little annoying-ass keyboard cable that is slid in there in a very pain-in-the-ass fashion. Screw you for that. And there's more cables attached and everything in here. So let's see if there's a place where we can measure backlight voltage at the top. Remind me of the book you said about saying no you recommended a few times in your videos. The book that I was talking about is called Start With No by Jim Camp. It'll change your life. You don't have to just read it if you're a salesman. It applies to all parts of your life. Personal life, dating, friendships, negotiating salary, negotiating sales. That's a really good book. I highly recommend you read it. Okay. So first thing to do is, let's see, where would you look if you were having an issue with your screen on this model? So let's move some of this stuff out of the way. Actually, if I move the microscope out of the way, then it'll, fuck. Yeah, the way I set this up is actually pretty awful. I have to, let me put the microscope here, but if I move it, it'll knock this off the, one of these days I'll set up my desk in a way that makes sense. Anyway, all right, let's check out where we would go for backlight. This camera view sucks. Somebody will always find something to bitch about. Okay. So, let's see. So the LCD connector is going to be... Which one here is the LCD connector? Aha. All right, so J8300. So let's move over and take a look at this. So J8300 is LCD connector. Let's look at that on the schematic here. So which one of these is going to be important if I have no backlight? I just almost said no blight. Thinking of my Batman Beyond head here. So PPV out SO LCD backlight. So let's find that. Let's also rotate this so it matches my view. So when I'm looking at this board, it's interesting how everything is kind of inverted. Yeah, this board view actually appears to be somewhat inverted. Or am I... Oh, this is really interesting. Is Paul here? Paul Daniels? Paul, why is my board view inverted? Let's see. Yeah, because on my board, this J8300 is on this side. And the charging port is on this side. This is totally inverted. This is me getting screwed with. Paul, what did I do wrong? Show me what I did wrong. Rotate. Okay, I've rotated the board. Oh, mirror board. Aha, mirror. I must have hit M by mistake. Okay, I'm an idiot. So let's see. PPV out SO LCD backlight. Where can I measure that voltage on the top of the machine? That's on pin 30. And I can check that voltage on this capacitor over here. Okay, now here's the fun part, is I disconnected the keyboard, and I'm pretty sure this machine will not automatically turn on when I plug in the charger. So I have to find a creative way to turn the thing on. Let's find a creative way. So I can measure on this little capacitor here and see what my backlight voltage is. The first thing I can do, before I even bother to find a charger or find a way that I could turn this thing on, is I can check and see if there's a short circuit to ground at that area. So let's turn on my multimeter camera here. There we go. Let's see if my battery died in my meter. It didn't. Big surprise there. All right, so we're going to measure on this capacitor, see if there's a short circuit to ground as it currently stands. I got to flip the machine over without ripping any of these really teeny tiny cables that are just long enough to not rip when their machine is lying down. Thank you, Apple. Thank you for making such a nicely serviceable computer. What a bunch of bricks. All right, so we're going to see what we get over here, right at pin 1 of that capacitor, 0.546. Now, the interesting thing is that's the exact same number that we get when it comes to a short circuit to ground on the airs and anything that's based on an LP8550. And I'm wondering, does this use the same general circuit? So let's see, PPV out SO LCD backlight. Let's see where that comes from, and let's see how they change the backlight circuit, if at all, for the 12-inch Retina. So we've got more capacitors on output. It looks like this is based on an LP8548. What's interesting is that this actually appears to have current sensing. So here, this is the interesting part. This over here is a current sensing circuit. So there's a resistor over here, and the way this works is that there's going to be a really tiny voltage drop, barely noticeable across the resistor, but that voltage drop is going to be directly correlated to the amount of amperage going through the circuit. So if there's a short to ground, there'll be a big voltage drop. The LED driver is going to measure the voltage at the beginning and at the end of the resistor, and if there's too much of a voltage drop, it's going to turn off the circuit. The whole point of this is to stop and end it's to end this insanity where the connector is the fuse. So all of you who've watched me fixing the older Retinas, the Airs, and the A1278s, the LCD connector on these models has often been the fuse, and that's fucking ridiculous. There's no point in putting a fuse in place if it never blows because everything in front of it dies. Putting a current sensing circuit in is very smart because once you fix the fault condition, no soldering and rework is required on the motherboard. And I like when things are put together where they're a little bit smarter than usual. And let's face it, with Apple, they haven't been put together very intelligently for a long period of time. So there's no short circuit to ground on output, which leads me to believe that there may be something else wrong here. So I want to turn this thing back on. I want to turn it back on, which means that I have to find out how to trigger this thing to turn back on, which means finding the SMC on-off L pins. So let's try and find those. So SMC on-off L is going to be a signal that once I short to ground will tell the machine, SMC on-off L, that I've hit the power button. And I want to see where that is. So SMC underscore on-off underscore L. Now, if Apple were nice, they would have put it right next to a ground pad so that I can easily, and what do you know, right over here. So we've got a, wait a second. Do I really have to, oh, you've no way in hell you were that, oh my God, that's douchey. Okay, so in order to short those pads, I have to actually get underneath the fucking battery. I have to unscrew the battery, which kind of defeats the purpose here. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take out the microscope so you can see. So on the screen here, you see how this pad? So I have to short SMC on-off L to ground to turn it on. SMC on-off is me hitting the power button will only be asserted when that signal is low. That signal is typically 3.4 volts, so to tell the computer to turn on, I got to short it to ground. And usually on these laptops, they put it to ground. As you can see with the outline over here, this is surrounded by the battery connector. So this over here, so it's under the, why would you do that? Why would you do that? That is such an asshole thing to do. And if you look at the board over here, you'll see that I've got my pad. There's one pad over here. And the other pad is sitting on, that I need to short it to turn the machine on, is sitting underneath this fucking tape and this connector. That is just a douchey ass thing to do. But that's Apple. So let's turn this on and see what voltage we get. Now I got to short those two pins together, so I'm going to get myself a nice flathead screwdriver so I can put this together. Hey, Paul, how are you? Okay, so we're going to short those two. Turn on, but let me hear it chime. I don't hear a happy little chime. Lame. Do that again. I hate this machine. Okay, let's see. I can tell if it's turning on by measuring something like CPU vCore, can I? If it doesn't want to chime? Where can I measure something like CPU vCore? There we go. We'll measure this. We'll measure CPU vCore. Oh no, I'll trick this thing. We'll trick this thing into giving me something I can use. Okay. Nope, not on. All right, try this again. Hit my little battery button. You can always try shorting you to a different ground, like maybe just doing the tweezers here. Chime. Chime, you bastard. Just turning this thing on is a pain in the dick. Let's see, where would I get my, let me just confirm my battery voltage is there. Huh, no battery voltage. Still no battery voltage. Interesting. What a... Alright, let's plug it in. Maybe I gotta plug it in and reset that stupid little sensor. I recommend Ulog treatment. I feel the same way. Alright. Come on, fit in the plug. Okay. Let's plug you in. And try again. Is my meter trolling me? Surely my meter is trolling me. 0.052. I have to be getting trolled here. Damn, returning to streaming has not gone well. Let's see. If I measure at the DC infuse, I get straight up 0. Huh. What have I done? 0 volts. My charger looks... What does my charger look like? This is trolling at its finest. Okay, it's not the prettiest charger in the world, but my pins look good. Okay, so we plug it in, like the Glade commercial from the 90s. Plug it in, plug it in. Anybody here ever tried to use that as a pickup line? Doesn't work. I had a funny dream. Lewis is rapping about board repair and where the SMC sits in an orange. That was hilarious. Huh. Thank you. This must be a joke. So it's sent in for no backlight, but it has 0 volts and won't see a charger. This surely is a joke. Perhaps. So what else could be going on here? These 12-inch machines are just kicking my ass. These are kicking my ass. It puts the computer in the oven. Oh, that's what I feel like doing right now. It's exactly what I feel like doing right now. What, does it just know that I have it open and just not want to play? Is that what it is? Maybe my charger is... Even if my charger were bad, surely I would have a... Huh. Okay. Battery, let's... This 12-inch is about to get tossed into the river. Have you tried putting it into a... Is the charge cable plugged in? I believe it is. you to Time Warner Tech Support to add that. Plug in the keyboard. Huh, I could do that. Let's wonder if my charger needs to be reset or something. Sometimes when you unplug the charger and plug it back in with these, they start working. So let's do the definition of insanity and repeat the same thing over and over again. See, at this point, there is something that is trolling. That is some particularly interesting trolling. Let's see. What would happen if I was to plug the keyboard back in? I'm getting fucking trolled. Yoink. Have you tried putting your dick on it? I have not. I don't think that would fix it. I think that would make things worse. I wouldn't put my dick near a 12-inch MacBook. There are certain things I'd prefer that my private parts not touch, and a 12-inch MacBook is most certainly one of them. Okay. Watch it turn on. If not this, then we just move on to something else. Alright. Okay. Let's see. Is the fan spin? Oh, never mind that. Do we have fan spin? Maybe hit the battery button. I mean, it's kind of interesting that you have no power on the charger after hitting the battery button as well. Or that you wouldn't have it after hitting it twice. Perhaps it's a shitty charger. Might just be a shitty charger. I also ran out of plugs under my desk. Yoink. Take two. New camera angle today. Indeed. Trying something new here. All right, plug you in. Power. I think the NSA has ordered Apple to install a fuck sensor on the boards. When Lewis reaches the max within 5 minutes and the board starts trolling. Someday. Okay. And no dice. Still no bueno. This should turn on even without a keyboard, though, I believe. This is why you never make a no backlight discount coupon. Ever. Because it's never what people say it is. Alright, let's try this. Let's unplug the keyboard and start from scratch. So rather than starting from the premise that this is a no backlight, let's start from the premise that this is fucking dead. And then maybe we can get something done. So first thing to do, is there a short circuit on my DC infuse? Let's check that. Okay, diode mode here. Red probe ground, black probe on DC infuse. That is not short-circuited at all. Voltage again on. This is one trolling ass computer. Next. I don't have the patience for 12-inch retinas today. We're gonna move on to the next one. That's some bullshit. You can suck it for now. I can't believe I trusted something that said no backlight to actually only be no backlight. You make Max sound like Weibo trolls trolling you. I looked at the one while I was there and thought no backlight and a stack of a ton of no power sounds like wishful thinking. Yes, pretty much wishful thinking. Fuck. Piece of crap, man. It's a scam. It's all a scam. All right. Next on the list. Hey, don't knock over my pinnacle. Next up, A1398. Supposedly dead. At least we get some honesty there. Whoops. My mouse. My little mouse's Sennheiser battery. Okay, this is dead. And so it looks like somebody did a little bit of rapey on the battery. Little bit of rapey. Hopefully not too much. And no light. So let's get the board out of this and hope to have better luck here. This has not been a good 2 days of streaming. This is the last thing you unplugged before it worked. It didn't work. Never made sure that it was no backlight. I assumed that the label was honest. The label's never honest. Never trust the label. He went to slash his wrist for being duped into repairing a 12-inch. That's one way to put it. New stuff always sucks. New stuff always sucks. Like 0 volts, plugging a working charger in with no short, like just no. That's the thing. If I had pulled that out of the pile and it said no power, and this is the funny thing, because I was mentally prepared for that to be a no backlight, and then I open it and it's a no. It's just no. Just none of the patience for that at the moment. Like, could I figure it out? Yes. Do I want to? Not no, since the little note on the ticket lied. We'll wait. We'll save that for later. So this one says, plugged in a knockoff shitty eBay charger and dead. And it's got all the screws in the wrong locations. On the bright side, at least the boards are broken today. There is a bright side to everything now, isn't there? Maybe this board it'll be the coil. Every now and then you need to have a couple of boards brought in that are the coil, just to remind you that Jessa is always wrong. Maybe we'll get to do some wicking on this board as well. You gave up so easily. Indeed I did. Yeah, kind of did. It's been different since everybody went on vacation and came back. I'm kind of like ready for my vacation now. I'm ready for my only no backlight, easy peasy stuff. Clarissa 1986 says you are cute. Well, there's this rule that I learned when I started using the internet a lot, like back in 2001, like when I really started logging in regularly rather than just half an hour for IRC, which is that almost every woman on the internet is actually a guy in his underwear, a fat, bald guy in his underwear. So while I genuinely appreciate your comment, unfortunately, there is the rule. Let's see. Okay. Come on out. What did they do to you? Tell me what the big bad people that ruined your battery did to you. Fix the board from Stay Horny Girl. No, that I sent that marching away. Let's see. That had to go. Keep up the videos. Thank you to Tom Lister. The 2018 MacBook Pro will be a system on chip including a soldered-on storage and RAM. You know where I think this stuff is going, in all seriousness? I think we're going to get to a point where stuff like the screen and the keyboard is a component itself that is soldered on. I mean, right now we think of a machine as different components and some of them are soldered together. But at some point, I think the display in and of itself is going to be a component. Stop hitting him! Oh. This is the assumption I make when I hear that noise now. Which board is this? This is an A203332. Paul, did you fix your U8900 problem yet? Hopefully you have better luck with those than I have recently. Do you have any hope that Apple will become better towards the future? Not really. They have no reason to, since people will buy their stuff anyway. People will never say that I got screwed, so I'm not spending money on your stuff. And because of that, they're never going to have a motivation to do anything differently than what they do right now. All right, so the light comes on for a quarter of a second and then dies. So let's try to figure out why it's doing that. Put this on the side table. Great. Why do Americans say soldered? It's soldered. Nope. Go to dictionary.com. Nope. We removed the L. Okay, so you see a light, and then you don't. Light, and then immediately gone. So what are some of the first things that we're going to have to check for to see why that occurred? First, what's the first thing we need for the light? Let's see. What are people going to say? Oh, your microscope's coming. Current sensing. Well, that's a good one. That's a good one. So let's open up the schematic for the 820-3332 board. 820-3332. Should I move to New York City? Fuck no. Why would you want to torture yourself by moving to this shithole? U7000. All right, so the current sensing circuit is going to work very similarly to the way I explained it on the backlight circuit. There's going to be an amount of power going through this resistor. There's going to be a voltage drop across the resistor that is directly proportional to the amount of amperage going through it. So by measuring the difference in voltage between the top of the resistor and the bottom, this chip over here will then be able to tell what amount of amperage is being used. If it thinks too much amperage is being used, it'll shut down. Now, just so that the charger is not going to get shorted to ground directly, if this U7000 chip fails, we have a resistor sitting in between it, R7021 and R7022. And we're going to check, and as soon as I said we're going to check and see if those are all good, my multimeter decided to turn itself off. So let's check this out. So what I'm going to do to try to measure the entire circuit is I'm going to measure the resistance between pins 28 and 27. So that's going to measure the trace, it's going to measure the resistor, the other resistor, the trace, the resistor, the trace, all in one simple measurement. So we'll be able to tell if anything is broken in that line with one single measurement. So let's go to U7000 over here on my board view software. Like your videos in a logical way you approach problems, that $100 red box is really tempting to buy. Which $100 red box do you mean? You talking about the Tech Power multimeter or something else? Because that thing's only 50. So down here we've got pins 27 and 28. Do you repair boards other than Apple? No, not at the moment I don't. No. Try to keep my momentum going. There's already way too much Apple stuff that's here that I have to drive myself nuts to get parts, schematics, all that stuff for. Don't want to drive myself crazy doing every other brand as well at the moment. So, why do Macs use 3.42 volts instead of 3.3? Well, they use both. They're special snowflakes like that. Sometimes they use one, and sometimes they use the other. So, let's check out that area on the board. Air charger. Change the range of the meter. And that is measuring exactly as it should. Current sensing for the battery is measuring exactly as it should. So let's just take a clean look around the board and see if anything looks nasty. So we've got this fuzz here, but that shouldn't be important at all. Fuzz. What are your thoughts on the Pace PRC 2000 station? Never heard of it. Let's see. Pace PRC 2000. That is the ultimate PCB and rework station. Huh, let's see. How is this thing? What is this thing? Pace PRC 2000. This looks fucking expensive. So how much do you cost? What does this thing cost? Is this one of those things where I have to like call you for a price? Because if that's the... Yeah. Oh, what the fuck? No. No, 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 stop. No, no. 4,400? Seriously? No, 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 no. If you have a very good reason to spend that much, fine. But if you need to ask me, for my opinion, you probably don't have a very good reason to spend that much money on a soldering station. All right, so let's plug this thing in. That is a lot of money, man. I mean, are you going to make more money than somebody else that doesn't have that station? Like, I'm all for buying good stuff, but that ends at a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no need to spend, like, I advocate buying good gear, but you don't have to spend $4,000 bucks. No. You could buy a BGA rework station for that amount of money. I can't advocate that. I can't. That's too much. That's too fucking much. In my opinion. Bye-bye chances of being sponsored by Pace. But yeah, this is why we can't have nice things. Okay, so first things first, let's check out a few things on U7000. So the light turns off immediately. Let's see if I have voltage coming into charger DC in. So the charger DC in voltage is going to come from this resistor, which comes from this diode, which comes from PPDC and S5 charger isolation or whatever I'm guessing. And that comes from PP18V5 DC and isol. Or this, and that's going to come from here, which will come from the DC infuse. Let's just start up here at the DC infuse, shall we? Start at F6905. See what we're getting on DC infuse. It's going to be somewhere over here. There we go. What do we get on DC infuse? DC infuse has given us 2 volts. 21, now 8. It's spiking. Okay, so it's turning itself on and off, on and off. It's power cycling, pretty much. So what's going to cause the DC infuse to power cycle? Well, let's see if we have a short circuit on anything. So perhaps we have a short circuit on PP bus G3 hot. That's the main power rail that's going to be created by, let's see, F7040. Yeah, so PP bus G3 hot is the power rail created by U7000 from the charger. Perhaps we have a short to ground on it, so let's check that. Do Apple supply schematics? Nope. They never have, and they probably never will. That's what the internet is for. Okay, so it seems like we do not have a short to ground on the PP bus. Do we have a short to ground on DC in? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't seem like there's a short to ground on the DC in. Is there a short to ground near the ISL 6259? Doesn't seem like there is. Now, do keep in mind how these chargers are going to work. These chargers are not going to deliver voltage unless they see a load. It needs to see a load in order to work. If it doesn't see a load, it doesn't work. So what's going to sit between the charger and the load of the machine? Let's take a look in the schematic and see if it's obvious to anybody. So on this circuit, we have from adapter, and then we have this transistor, and after the transistor is the load of the system. All of this stuff in front of it. So let's take a look at Q7080 and see what that looks like. How much did your rework station cost? Good question. So I've got the Weller WHA 900 here, which you probably won't be able to see if I try to move this. Yeah, you can't because I got all this crap in the way. So this station over here cost me about, okay, this is like, you can buy this online for like $600 or $700. This soldering iron here cost me about $260. The micro pencil that I used cost me about another $100 over here. I don't have a place to put it. I just shove it on the table. And then all these tips over here, including the micro pencil tips, probably cost another $150. And that's really that. I didn't drive myself nuts spending insane amounts of money. A lot of people think I spent way too much on my setup because you can buy IOE stuff for like $100. But a lot of that stuff, like sometimes it really works and sometimes it doesn't work at all. And I didn't want to deal with that. So this equipment works. It works on a regular basis. It's not shitty. It does everything I need. It's reliable. And it's not $4,500. Now, granted, you can buy, if you really need a solder, a solder sucker, I have a Hacko 808. I mean, that thing's like $250. You can buy it used for half the price. I don't need a $4,400 station to do the work that I do. And I'm not, yeah, I endorse expensive hot air, but I'm not endorsing $2,000 or $5,000 hot air. I'm really just endorsing the stuff I use that I want to use that makes sense for me. So let's check out Q7080. Q7080, let's find you. So Q7080 is going to be up here. I wonder if I can add the camcorder to this view. Can I? Let's see. That would be interesting. You can see my reactions as I get owned by a board that's smarter than me. Hey, I'll put myself over here. What the hell? All right, so Q7080 is going to be on here on this other side of the board. Take a look at that. And it doesn't look that bad. There's nothing here that really strikes me as really off. But it's the only thing that I imagine is going to be causing this issue. So we're going to start by repealing and replacing Q7080 with a better one. So let's get the repeal process going. Turn on my fume extractor. No one thinks you spent way too much in that setup. Every single person here thinks you need to spend another $10 on a box for all those donor boards. Never. One of these days when I get an assistant. It's hard to find a good assistant. I put up an ad a few weeks ago and I read through all the stuff. I read through all the, and it's like, yeah, not letting you near my store. No, that's suicide. Speaking of, where can I find a Q7080? Here, Q7080. Here, Q7080, Q7080, Q70. Come on, come on. Hey, there's a Q7080 right here. It's for a different board. Grr. Let's see. You similar enough? Nah. You're the same shit. Yeah. Yeah, you're the same thing. All right, let's let out some flux on this board. Oh, yeah. That feels good. Some nice, sweet flux. Where you tried a different power adapter. My power adapter is just fine. Thank you to Tobias Morgan for the knock, whatever that is. What is the cutoff percentage for a viable repair? What do you mean by cutoff percentage? I'm kind of confused by that. Cutoff do you mean at what point is it not worth it to continue? Do you mean at what dollar amount is it not worth it to do the job, or? No, she wouldn't. Lewis would end up sober and beaten half to death? Huh? Jess would be a good assistant. No comment. Why does Q7080 look like a clock chip? It's not the clock chip, it looks like the crystal. And it's just based on the crap that they use in the front. Why am I doing that? Like, I'm trying to show you it in a camera when I have a microscope camera. That's dumb. It does look kind of like a crystal, doesn't it? So now, in order to do a proper repeal, we need to use wick. If we don't use desoldering wick, we're just not doing the job right. So let's just get started with a little bit of wick. This is something I learned in 2015 when I started teaching with Jessa at Practical Board Repair School. It was a secret that she let me in on. And since I'm no longer teaching with her, the contract is over, which means that I can let you in on the secret to being a successful board repair technician that is a lake house, two or three houses, 3 or 4 cars, a bunch of chickens in the backyard, a truck, an RV, and a partridge and a pear tree. I could let you in on the secrets to success. And that all starts with doing a good amount of wicking. And it seems that my wick is gone. But luckily, I have about 3 pounds of it sitting right in here in my bin. This is the most important thing that I have. I need it. I use it on every repair. Every repair. All right. Is there not a solder sucker with a tip that small? There is, but it's really a pain in the ass to use compared to wick. Wick is just amazing. Wick is just... I love soldering wick. Love spreading it around. I love the feeling of the wick on the board. iPad Rehab says scraping is raping. That is a new PBRS saying when students think they should wick. Scrape culture. Yep. Colleges have rape culture. Practical Board Repair School has scrape culture. Why don't you get Obama to give you a speech? No, don't you? and why you shouldn't wick. I always wick. Proud of my scraping culture. It's key of my business. Key tenet of my business. We're not going to get rid of it anytime soon. What brand do you use? I use Goot Wick. Goot Wick, which... Come on, camera. Fucking focus. I need to get a remote for this face focus shit. Ah, why the fuck do you have to hang the button behind here? Alright. Face focus is back here. Alright. This. Buy this. Focus, you... Focus. Focus! Oh, goddamn. Alright, manual focus. This is some more shit. Manual focus. There we go. Zoink. Best wick on earth. I wish the wick had a face on it so it would focus. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of cleaning. It's always good to clean after you're scraping. Your board called. He said, no means no, Lewis, says Jessa. All right. My board said no? Just for that remark, Jessa. Just for that. How's that? Tell my board I said this. Fuck you, board. And fuck that little resistor. Die. JTAG, die. What's up, guys? You know what we're going to do when we finish taking off the JTAG connector? You know what we're going to do? You know what my favorite thing is to do? Scrape. Scrape away. How about it? How about it? I feel vindicated. Okay. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Q7080, shall we? Shall we? So we're going to tin the pads of Q7080. Forgot to add a message, hello, just saying that you were doing good work. Thank you for all the good quality education you're giving out to the public. Keep up the good work. Thank you to the bias, Morgan. Okay. When you go to Jess's class, she doesn't even teach you how to wick. It's the most practical thing that I do, is wick. Always wick. I'm sponsored by Wix, and I wick with my damn solder balls. I'm glad you didn't go to college. We wouldn't have you here today. I would have gotten my liberal arts lobotomy. There would have been nothing left of me. I imagine removing JTAGs to be very therapeutic. Why, it is, T-Rose. It is. It's one of my favorite things to do. Right in the middle of something that doesn't seem like it's going well. Let's just scrape right through it. I wonder if removing JTAGs is advertiser friendly. It's something I should ask next week. Is removing the JTAG advertiser friendly? Or family friendly? I think my content's very family friendly, but we're going to see after that conversation next week. I stand behind the family friendliness of my content. Liberal arts lobotomy sounds like a smooth brain degree. Yep. Liberal arts lobotomy. What is a JTAG? It's that nasty connector I just removed that causes so many boards to die. It's a murderer, and I rightfully get rid of them. Okay, let's see if we get a light. Whoa! It turns on! We're done here! We are done here! Let's see, is it turn on? So Q7080. Let's check. This is insane. I can't do it the way TechRex does. This is insane! Alright guys, we're gonna measure for CPU V-core. No, I can't do that. That's trying to talk like that guy, that's a fucking lobotomy. Alright, as you can see, we get 0.898 volts on GPU V-core, which means that we are done. Almost, but because I'm not an asshole, I'm going to fix the standard U8900 defect that occurs with all of these boards, which is where this starts to become desoldered and looks like shit. So let's just inspect the solder joints around this, and you tell me if you see anything that doesn't look up to par. What do you think of the solder joints around this chip? So I've done a video on this in the past on how this is the cause of so many of these to not have video or to have kernel panics, or when you tap the board, it stops working. So what do you all think of the solder joints around this chip? And I may just up the bit rate and see if Time Warner allows me to have the bit rate up so that you can see it in some better quality. So hopefully this works. It probably won't because fuck, it's Time Warner. I mean, but one way to find out. All right. Hopefully Paul made some money off of this job. I'm really hoping he did. Every time somebody asks me about soldering in Australia, I refer them to pldaniels.com. It's the least I can do for him programming this lovely software I use. Now, if you have an 820-3332 board and you get kernel panics, this is what you should be doing. Or any type of random fuck-ups on your screen. So I'm using the T30-KN tip from Hacko. It's a nice knife tip. I just, of course, trademark bridge something down there by being an idiot, but it's easily fixed by the knife tip. Do the same at the top. Be a little bit more careful with it. bad joints, just hammer them. Hey, we're not dropping frames at 11 megabit. That's awesome. Maybe Apple was running short on solder when they put those chips on. That's always a possibility. I have a lot of flux there. Make some nice new joints. And get that capacitor back where I want it to be. All right, and that's that for this board. What's the deal that makes this chip a weak point? Well, if you look at this board, if you actually take it out of the machine, you'll notice that it flexes a lot, and that flexing is what causes that to be a weak point. Flexes more than I'd like it to. So just to go over what it drop frames. All right, got to go back to lower bit rate. Fuck you, Time Warner. This is really a joke. Like 20 megabit per second business class connection. 460 something a month after tax, drops frames at half the bit rate that I pay for. Aye. All right, back to lower bit rate. So let's go over what caused this. So the light was flickering, and we narrowed it down to this little transistor over here, which you see in the middle, which is this. Now, the way this works is this transistor is going to let voltage to go through. This is two P-channel MOSFETs on the inside, so which means that the voltage in the source has to be greater than the voltage in the gate. So R7085 is going to take the voltage on the source and make sure it's always on the gate, therefore never turning it on. But R7086 is going to give the gate a path to ground, which makes this here a voltage divider, since you have two resistors, one between 16 volts and your destination, one between the destination and ground, but the U7000 chip sits between them. So U7000 sits between the bottom of this resistor, which needs to go to ground, and ground itself. So this is going to open, and the whole point of this is just to make sure that you don't have, like, you don't want to have shit happen like power from the battery going back into the charger and any stupid shit like that. So this is going to keep that from happening, and it's also going to keep an inrush of power from killing the machine, and it'll just kill this little transistor instead. So this, now the way the charger works is it's only going to supply power if it sees a load. If it cannot see the system because something like, let's say, Q7080 is dead, then it's not going to work, and it's going to give you that quick blink, but then turn off, because it's going to supply power for a tiny bit, but if it doesn't see a load, it dies. Now, one way you can diagnose this without even having to take the transistor off is you can just cut up a power supply wire onto your MagSafe. Now, the very important thing to do here is choose an 85-watt tip. Get a real 85-watt tip from the Apple Store, not the eBay ship. Cut it off and tie the 18 volts of your power supply to the plus and the ground of your power supply to the negative. My bench power supply, which is an HP 6542A, it does not care if there's a load or not. It's not going to shut itself down. So if you can power it off of the power supply, but you cannot power it off of the charger, very often what that means is that that transistor is blown, or there's something wrong with it, or it's not allowing you to see a load, or it's only working halfway. That's what I've noticed a lot of the time. Only $1, but I hope that helps. I appreciate your $1. I do. Thank you very much to Dylan. That's mighty kind of you. One towards the 460-something that it cost to stream with drop frames via Time Warner. All right, so what should we go for next? I'll ultrasonic this off a little bit. Make sure to ultrasonic it, make it look a little bit nicer, and we'll go on to the next one. But yeah, I'm not sure if you can tell from the camera angle, but these boards actually, they kind of warp a little bit. They do. I mean, look at the shape of this thing. It's, yeah. Because you could tell if you tap right there sometimes, you also have that same problem. Okay, you have a bunch of people bragging about their better internet. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, you have better internet. Fuck you all for your better internet. How's that for advertising friendly? All right, so let's drop this in the ultrasonic cleaner. Make it look clean again. Make it look good again. And move on to something else that hopefully has a good story to it. I like boards that have a good story to them. I don't believe in circumcision, but I do believe in removing JTAGs. I like removing the JTAG. JTAGs are useless scum. That's covered in brown liquid, so that can wait for Jason. That's what you get for taking a day off. Okay, holy crap. So one person brought 6... At least your ISP doesn't randomly cut out with DNS not found errors every half hour like Cox does. Yeah. Guess it's not all bad. That ultrasonic cleaner noise is probably annoying. I'll turn on a filter. It'll cut out some of it. There we go. The low pass at 6.5 kilohertz. I wish I wasn't cut, then I wouldn't have this nasty J scar from when I was cut when I was 5 minutes old, and people wonder why I hate my parents. It started when I was born. Yeah. The beginning of a civilized society begins with how you treat kids. Someone said earlier in comments that the 12-inch has a case intrusion detection. Maybe that helps. Case intrusion detection, it probably does. And that can sit and wait a little bit. That makes total sense that it would have something like that. But I'm set for a vacation, so that can wait. Real men wear pink. I would say this is light red instead of pink, but thank you. This is bright red. I like this shirt. I've always liked this shirt. It's weird that somebody saw a baby and thought, let's cut the tip of his knob off. That's a good idea. Yeah, people are just... I don't understand. I don't understand. I've heard over and over again that it's for sanitary reasons, that you'll have problems. Like, I'm turning 29 this year. My dick still works just fine. It's like just moving straight along. You know? I just like... There's a lot of things I could have put it into in New York that would have made it not be healthy, but, you know. So far, it's just fine. Yeah. Circumcision is a scam. What a scam. What? Oh, God, we're back to yesterday all over again. You already turn on. Why are you here? I swear, this is people testing my conscience. You just keep testing my conscience. Will he stop sending me shit that already works? This legit already works. Next. You just finished circumcising that board for no reason. My board is not a sentient life form. My board is not aware that it's had its JTAG cut off. This is boring. Is somebody just not even seeing if these turn on or not before taking them in? I don't understand. This can't be true. This one seems to not be turning on, so this one may at least be something exciting. Time to see if it is. It was for hygiene back when running water was a thing not needed in this day and age. I had this conversation with somebody a long time ago, and I asked them, do you plan on, let's see. I asked them, what do you plan on smelling like for your wedding? And she looks at me really weird, because she said she plans on circumcising her kids. And I said, what do you plan on smelling like for your wedding since you're engaged? And she goes, what? Like, yeah, I mean, do you plan to smell good, or or you're just going to, you know, be confident in your BO? And she goes, wow, like, you're going to take a shower the day of, right? And she goes, of course. And I said, well, back in the Middle Ages, when people used to take a shower once a year. Now, if it was a special occasion, like a wedding, they would take a shower 1 month before the wedding. Now is the special occasion that you would take a shower 30 days before your wedding. And that was a time when circumcision was a thing. So you're applying the hygiene rules that we used back when a special privilege was being able to take a bath and 30 days before your wedding to a society where running water costs almost nothing, is included in your rent, and usable like 5 times a day. Why? 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 And it really is an interesting part of how people think. It's an interesting part of just the entire dynamic of how our brains work, is that if we started doing something for some decent reason, our mind is almost incapable of realizing once that reason no longer applies. It's so weird. It's so, because like, it's been going on for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years, and it is totally obsolete. But people are just like, well, we've already been doing it. Since we've already been doing it, we might as well continue doing it. Why stop? Why change? People hate change, even when there's no good reason to not change. It's just people just keep doing what they were always doing, and it's just weird. Thank you to Mark Wilson. I don't understand it. It could be some kind of investigative journalism. We always had news stations which would slightly unplug a SATA cable or some other nonsense. There's that, but then there's also other stuff. It's like if somebody gives me something, and let's say they give me something that already worked, right? Let's say they give me something that already worked, but the board is filled with a wine spill, and like I charge them for getting rid of the wine spill. Like, am I an asshole for charging them to clean up the wine spill that was already there, even if it already worked? It's one of those gray areas where I would say, you know, for the investigative journalism shit, just, like, yeah, on some hand, some people are genuine fucking scammers and they get off on scamming people, but then there's those gray areas where it's kind of hard to tell, and, eh. Why isn't it common sense to ban circumcision of kids without a medical reason? Again, it's just, people hate change. They fucking hate change. It's like, even when it comes to just chopping off a piece of your dick, it's like, why change? We've always been doing this. All right, let's take this thing out. See what the cause of our problem is. What's really interesting as well, I think about the sex drive of people back then, and I'm serious. I mean, if we lived in a time where, oh, goddamn you bastards, you fucked with this before me, no. You long screwed a MacBook? Really? How the fuck do you long screw a MacBook? Oh my God. You ripped off a piece of the board. You long screwed a MacBook. Wow, this is, I'll show you it under the microscope. All right, this is probably going to go into a shit pile. Really? You really? Yeah. What the fuck? This is new. I haven't seen this in a long time. Look at this. Oh, Jesus Christ. No more of the... Yeah, this is some horse shit. No, no more sloppy seconds. No more sloppy seconds. I'm protesting the sloppy second shit. I get enough sloppy seconds. New viewer, how do I acquire this skill? Watch over the edited videos I've done and try and learn. Okay, we're going to make a few simple measurements on this one, but I'm going to have a very low tolerance for rabbit hole here. I'm not getting screwed with. The board is fine, someone says. We will not. We won't be fooled anymore. Let's take the other one out of the ultrasonic. Okay, let's plug this in. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying, one of the interesting things is just what sex drive must have been back then. Say hello to England, please. Hello to Shane. The idea that people who only took a bath once a year would still find it in themselves to have sex with one another, it just astounds me. Like, what human sex drive was that back in those times, people were still marrying and fucking, and it's like you compare it to today, and you compare it to the things that we look for in other people, like the things that we choose to date or not date someone over, and then you compare and contrast that to a time where, like, all the men that you could choose from, all the women you could choose from, pretty much bathe once a year. I mean, it makes a lot of the pickings now look a lot better. And as you can see, the fan is spinning. I'm completely being trolled. That's the second one in a row. You know what? I'm not going to let this end up like the yesterday stream where I just get trolled by everything. I think this is the world's way of saying end it on an early note. I fixed something. I had some story for you. But I feel like I'm getting scammed at this point into opening all this stuff that already works. So I'll read some of what's here, and then I'll be out of here since it is Friday night and it has been already an hour and 18 minutes. Brian is right. That board did nothing wrong. All right, so let's move this microscope out the way. Sure, now if I move it out of the way, then I can't read the damn screen. Do you ever tell your coworkers you have to take a PP3 before 2? You don't wash off HPV. Not with that attitude. What am I reading? Next page. Why are we having conversations about whether or not circumcising people is going to help with HPV? Just stop putting your dick in HPV. It's like, just like, stop putting your dick in HPV. I mean, it's just, what is so hard about that? Like, teach children to not do that, or teach your kids about what STDs are so that when they grow up, they don't put their dick in that, or cut the part of their dick off that they're going to mislay. Like, no. We're choosing cutting a piece of somebody's dick off over saying, don't put your dick in a swamp. Just don't put your dick in a swamp. You'll be fine. Have a good night to Tobias there. Let's see. Let's see. Don't forget daytime alcohol pre-drinking. Daytime alcohol drinking predated tea drinking, so that would account for the sex drive. Thanks for all the advice. AR is Argentina's. Maybe I'll grab another one. Let's see. There may be another one that's worthwhile. I love that. Like that's the real hashtag drain the swamp right there. We're really arguing over whether or not circumcision will help you not contract HPV. Don't put your dick in a swamp. You won't get HPV. Do you have that little confidence in your kid's ability to judge the swamp that he's putting his stuff into that you would rather just cut off a piece of it? Really? Really? Really now? That's what we're saying. I have faith in my kid. My kid's not going to put his dick in a swamp when he grows up. My kid's going to have good judgment. Unlike me. Okay. But then they might learn about sex. Gasp. It's the internet's here, though. Everybody does that at everybody knows about everything now as a kid. Can't escape the internet. Kids can go to 4chan just fine. Lewis is sleepy, indeed. Thank you to Miles Olson. At the age that he starts wanting to bone, hell no. 90% of the swamps out there have HPV, but still, cutting a dick part off is not the answer. Wow. There's actually quite a bit of swamp right outside my door right now. But see, I'm choosing to sit here instead. Judgment. Quality judgment. Parents are lazy. Why bother teaching your kid when you can just let the schools and internet do your job for you? Yeah. I really find it odd that they teach things like sex in school. And it's not because I think kids shouldn't know it, but that's like, why aren't your parents explaining shit like this to you? I'm not even saying it from some type of conservative standpoint of why is it, like, I don't want my kids to know about that. It's just, why is it that we are letting the government do the parent's job? Because there's a lot of crap that I think is out. I mean, like, for example, we used to have a class called conflict resolution in school, and it was terrible. The teacher was fucking awful. They didn't teach anything that was actually useful on how to deal with other people. But it was a 2-term or 2-semester, depending on where you go and what they call it, class on conflict resolution. Why is it that I'm learning conflict resolution from somebody who has never had a job where they had to deal with conflict? Why am I learning conflict resolution from somebody who's really, this may also wind up working too. Let's see. I'm learning conflict resolution from somebody who has never had to deal with an actual customer, who's never had to face a chargeback, who's never had to face a DCA claim, it's so silly to me. I mean, what do you know about conflict when your first job ever was public school teacher? You know, my dad knew about conflict. He worked on the trading floor, stock exchange in the 70s and 80s. He was a chef at restaurants that had 150 tables for lunch on days where everybody but him would not show up. I mean, he was the only one that had showed up. And everybody was hungry. He fucking knew conflict resolution. He knew conflict resolution very well. Fuck if my teacher did. Because parents are crap, yeah. I guess most parents do, but they teach it in case parents did a crap job or didn't do the job at all. And the thing is, they spend all this time teaching about sex and safe sex and STDs and birth control. They don't spend any time teaching you how to pick out good people. They spend no time at all explaining to you the benefits of picking somebody who is going to stick around or be a good provider or work with you or somebody who does not have an abusive personality. None of that gets taught. None of how to pick people with quality personality traits that are not going to use you, scam you, leave you. None of that gets taught because, who cares? Yeah. You be, you are, Who cares if everybody acts like our selected lunatics as long as they know to wear a condom? Which half of the time they don't. Their parents actually taught their own kids that. You may have a little bit more case selection, a little bit less lunacy. But then again, when your parents are also R-selected, then maybe it is better off that you get it from the fucking school. Sad times that we live in. Sad times. All right. Let's plug this thing in. A lot of parents don't because they can't handle the topic. If you can't handle the topic, then don't fucking take the job. It's simple. It's another thing that my dad taught me. He said, regardless of what it is you're doing in life, don't take a job that you're not willing to do. So, like, for example, even if I was taking a job where I was working for free, I remember my first internship was working 40 to 60 hours a week for free. And anytime I would say something about it that I didn't like, my dad would say, did you agree to it? And he said, yes. And he goes, you got to do it. You could always say no, he said. Anything that you agree to, you have to put effort into. You're always allowed to not agree to do something. There's always a choice. He taught me there's always freedom. You can always say no. You can always do something else. You can always find your own way. You can always try for other options. There's always freedom. But if you take a job, you have to try and put an effort to do a good job of it, or shut the fuck up. And you don't get to be a parent and say, oh, I don't like this subject. I'm going to avoid talking about it with my kid. Get the fuck out of here. Do your job. Do your job. All right, so we have no green light in the charger. What do we need to get a green light in the charger? First thing that we need, this is a 3437. Tell me what the first thing that you're going to need is. Mm-hmm. Let's open 3437 here. What's the first thing we need? No green light, 3437. I'm waiting. School teachers do nothing but resolve conflict. Between kids, it's like, no, it's different. School teachers resolve conflicts between children most of the time. School teachers' job is to push conflict onto the victim, zero tolerance. Yeah. There was always these times when I was a kid where they would have somebody come to class who did something in the real world. Like some market-facing job where they actually were accountable to other people. And it would always be interesting to hear what they had to say. And what was further interesting is how everything they said would be a complete repudiation of what I had learned from my teacher. All right. I still have no answers here. PP3v42, that's the one. PP3v42. All right, so we're going to check and see if PP3v42 is present. What do we get for PP3v42? We get 0.6 volts. All right, what do we do next? What do we do next? I got no PP3v42. I have 0.6 volts. Is there any courses on data recovery? I'm pretty interested about this since I've seen a video of you doing it. We do have a link below that you can follow if you want to sign up for one. Just be aware that I am a basket case to work with, as is the other person who teaches here. SMC BCACOK, someone says. No, that's not. We don't have PP3V42 yet. So let's go over what he's talking about there. So what he's talking about is U71. Oh, wrong. Yeah, here, U7100. Now, in order to get SMC BCACOK coming out of this chip, this is going to pull that down. If it notices something wrong with the charger, you won't get the green light. This is a crucial part of the one-wire circuit. But that crucial part of the one-wire circuit is actually pulled up by PP3V42. And I'm going to show you where that is here. Here we go. So here we have PP3V42 on the side, and there's a pull-up resistor to pull that up. So SMC BCACOK is not going to be present if we don't have PP3V42. So SMC BCACOK is going to be missing because of our primary problem, which is that we're missing PP3V42. So what do we do next? We're missing PP3V42. Make it FPP3V42. It's a short to ground. Okay, let's see if it's a short to ground. We're going to check and see where PP3V42 shows up on this board and see what we get. PP3V42G3 hot is going to show up right over here. We're going to measure and see if we have a short to ground at that specific segment. So diode mode, take my red probe on ground, take my black probe and put it in the swamp, in the pin 2 of L7095, and it's shorted to ground. Why is it shorted to ground? What could cause it to be shorted to ground? How do we figure it out? Maybe I should use my doctor meter. Yeah, you know what? Let's try that thing. I did say I was going to review it, and I haven't because it's like a piece of shit, but well, I should give it a fair shake. Where is that thing? Where's my fucking digital thermometer? Show me my doctor meter. My doctor meter. Oh, man. All right, so plug this thing in. Doctor meter. That looks kind of cool on the screen. Wow. That looks amazing. Okay. Is it the PP3V42 creation area? PP3V42 creation is 93 Fahrenheit. The other part of the board is 91. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, no, now it's 82, 87. LCD connector area is 84. Hey, the light just turned on. The fuck? Let's see. Are you fixing your... What? The fan is... What? Whoa! I take it back! This is not a piece of shit. It just fixed my board. Look at this. The fan is spinning. You can't make this shit up. What the fuck? How the hell did this happen? The fan is spinning. Look at that. Turn. Oh, come on. Light. God damn it. Okay, it stopped spinning by the time I got the focus on. What? How the fuck? Seriously? You did not just... Oh, okay, it's going off now. The fan was spinning. Nobody's going to believe me. I didn't get it on camera. This is bull. Wait, maybe the infrared... Maybe this thing is fixing it. It does say on the side of it, it says, avoid exposure, laser radiation is emitted. Laser radiation is emitted. So perhaps the laser radiation is fixing my short. All right, so we have 84 degrees on this. Doctor meter fixed your board. That is some doctor. It sure is. That's amazing. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, now we're down to 76 degrees on the PP3V42 section. We've dropped 10 degrees. This thing is such a piece of shit. All right. LCD connector is also 71. Why did I agree to take this and review it? Now we're back to 90 degrees in that area. 93 degrees in that area. Right next to it, the CPU area is 84. PP3V42 creation is 96. Let's check the SMC. That's a common one to burn. SMC area is 99. 100 degrees. Oh, fuck. 101 degrees. Okay, so the SMC is the problem. This is kind of cool. This looks really cool on the screen. I could do this all day for entertainment. All right, so let's take a look at the SMC area since that is probably what's causing my damage. But it's interesting that it turned on for a quick... Oh, okay. Ugh. Puh. All right, let's do some cleaning and repealing. Wait for the hot air station to get warm. I've had LCD panels and boards that would crash fail if I took a flash photograph of them because of the light causing the PN silicon junctions to generate small amounts of voltage. Wow. That's freaky. Sounds like an intermittent error that will come back no sooner than the customer checks out the laptop. Most likely. Wouldn't a shitty thermal camera for your phone be just as good? Probably better. Okay, we're going to give the SMC a reflow, or a rehot, a bro rehot. Before we do that, we're going to get rid of that edge bonding on the sides of it. And some of those capacitors over there, they got to go, because they're probably giving me my intermittent short. So I'm going to preheat the board from far away. Sometimes you're a complete ass, but you know what? I appreciate that because you still tell the truth and shock people out of safe zones if they're even paying attention. I try. I don't try to be an ass. I'll just stream on Twitch. Because I can't dual stream at a high bit rate because Restream will not allow it. It drops too much. Okay, I should be soon able to remove that silicone edge, whatever it is, on the edge bonding easily. Sleepy. Yes, I scraped a trace, and I'll do it again. Okay. So tired. One of the students put away the UV curable paste in the UV machine. Oh, Jesse. Poor Jesse. How do you know the SMC is dead? Because it's burning hot, man. It's boiling. Solder resist is really thin, you barely scraped it. Yeah, it's shit. But it's an Apple product. What do you expect? You expect top of the line here? It's Apple. It's Apple. You get what you get when you buy Apple. So we're going to preheat, and then we're going to reflow. Rehot CPU, bro. Jessica got finished with a full 2 weeks of teaching how to rehot the CPU. How to donate for Jessie. If you want to donate to Jessie, you could send her a video of you rehotting a CPU and then wicking the solder that comes out around it. It's the best thing you can do. The best thing that you can do. Come on. I don't use silicone tip tweezers because I use these ones. Because I already own these ones and they work. So. Hello to David Tamplin. Just another crappy board. Okay. This is a nasty, nasty SMC area. No. Maybe? Yeah, this one looks good. Does heat gun work on through a hole? Yeah. It can be useful if you're not able to suck all the solder out of a hole and you need to remove a component. It's not the optimal way to do it, but you can. Pretty. Nice and pretty. See if our short circuit went away. Hey, we got some dirt up there that we got to get rid of. Hey, we got a good number. Which means we probably get a fan spin. That's the fan. That's my charger. That's me plugging the charger in. And does my fan spin? Oh yeah. That's a fan spin. That's awesome. Wait, you stopped spinning. Oh, you're at 34.37. Come on, do your RTC reset. On, off, on, off, on, off, and then on. Why don't you have an Amazon Associates program link for Amazon France? Why don't I? You know, it's interesting. France is the only company that never accepted my application. France is the only country that didn't accept my application. And I thought that would change if Marine Le Pen were elected, but she were not, so I don't expect it to anytime soon. No, seriously, of all the countries that I made an Amazon link for, that was the only country that did not accept my application. So, no Amazon link for France. Okay. But this works. Beautiful board. Might as well ultrasonic it, make it look beautiful, make it look nice, make it look ready for a night out on the town, Friday night, and then get out of here. Go Haswell, indeed. It's a good little board. Time is it there? It's 9:06, which means it's about time to get out of here. Enjoy the Friday night. Okay, let's clean it up, and I'll show you what it looks like after the board is all cleaned up. Clean up all that flux. Get some ASMR going. Who here likes ASMR? Who here wants to turn up their headphones to the loudest possible volume? Ready? 1, 2. ASMR. Can we make the Friday night out change to Friday night swamping? Yeah, that would be an interesting way to call it. Friday night swamping. Did he fix the backlight? No, fuck that. 12-inch Retina is not backlight. 12-inch Retina. Boo. Thumbs down. Hate the 12-inch Retina. Pile of shit. Music to my ears, says someone. So, here, I'll put on the high pass. I mean the low pass for you. There you go. Much better now, right? How many boards did you do tonight? On camera, 2. Did a bunch more earlier today. I've stopped filming as many of them. It really does kind of slow the process down, but I want to make sure to have a couple, at least a couple every day. What's bad about that Retina? It doesn't want to turn on. We'll move on to the next one. Any idea? See, what kind of I'm curious what kind of optical stabilization the Sony has. Oh yeah. There's no optical stabilization in that camera. None at all. Am I making you dizzy yet? Let's see. I always scared touching this 12-inch MacBook. The top case are so easy to get damaged. Apple have recall program. Really? For the 12-inch? 12-inch top case as a recall? It's news to me. I don't think so. What's the best MacBook for a student that doesn't break like all the ones you fix? ThinkPad X1 Carbon. How much was PC 3000? Like 5,400 bucks or so. What are your thoughts on Moto Z? I haven't tried a Moto Z yet, but I do like the Moto G. So I'm not sure about the Z, but I like the Moto G. And there are times where I genuinely think I would have been better off with just keeping my Moto G instead of getting an S7. Yeah, I got a little bit of a better screen, but it's not worth it for like the $500 difference, crappier battery life, much weaker casing. What microphone is that? This is a DPA 4065. This is my coat hanger microphone. My favorite microphone. It looks like a bent pink coat hanger. It matches my shirt, too. Beautiful, beautiful microphone. Thoughts on what people in their early 20s, recent graduates, should and shouldn't be spending money on to advance their career. I'm a software developer. I know very little to nothing about software development. I would ask Paul Daniels, experienced software developer in the chat. He probably could tell you a lot more than I can. You should always spend money investing in yourself, I'd say. Here's the thing. Here's the only generalized advice I could give. There are going to be times where you have an idea and you believe so much in the idea that you don't care that you're spending 14 hours a day on it. You don't care that you're not immediately getting paid for it. You don't care that other people think it's silly. You know that, and you know in your heart and your mind, in both places, that this is an idea that's genuinely going to advance mankind. It's not some stupid, gimmicky shit, but you know that it's really going to make life better for a lot of people. When you have an idea like that, spend money on it. But until you have an idea like that, kind of, you know, don't just run after everything that seems like a new interesting trend. But yeah, I would ask Paul Daniels. Paul Daniels is an intelligent software developer and has a lot of experience. I'm just a schmuck. Okay, let's see what that Retina from earlier looks like after the ultrasonic cleaner. And then I'll show you what the air looks like after the ultrasonic cleaner. What's going on with your hair? I'm going gray. I'm getting old. See that? That's aging, man. Look at this right there. That is what happens when you age. And I am no spring chicken. I am getting old. My hair is getting old with it. So my transistor area. That's my transistor. Too bright. Come on. Too much exposure. Stop that. God damn it. What? Look at this auto exposure shit. Keeps. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's my transistor. My JTAG connector could have looked a little nicer, but that is my transistor. And this is also the U8900 area that I went over earlier. It's got a little speck of something on it. It's got some nice, beautiful new joints. Come on, focus, you bastard. Focus, you bastard. Focus, you bastard. There we go. If you Google for DPA 4065, you get Lewis. No way. Wow, you do get me. Let's see. What happens on stream, on screen? So Google image DPA 4065. So you get me with my ugly office. You get this girl. Okay. You get what? Who are you? Oh, God. Damn, somebody had more to drink than I am tonight. You get me again. You get this one. Hi, how's it going? You get... You get me again. This is interesting. Yeah, if you search for DPA 4065, I'm the first person that shows up. Imagine that. That's odd. Wouldn't expect that. I'm honored to be the most popular person using a DPA 4065 microphone. Any idea what would cause electrical noise only when I use a specific pair of headphones? Fits to Granny Jessa. Huh. Who said Granny Jessa? She's not going to be happy with that. She's not going to be happy with being called that. What field were you interested in before you got into electronics? I wanted to be a therapist, and I had silly plans of being either a loudspeaker engineer, a therapist, or something in philosophy. I was really interested in becoming a therapist for a while, but that didn't turn out the way I imagined. A lot of school required for it. And there was a lot of school required if you actually want to become a psychiatrist or a therapist, which means getting a lobotomy at a left-wing college where they shove down your throat that you're garbage because you're a white male, which I really didn't want to do that for like 8 years of my life, so I decided to do this instead. And that's where I am now. Let's see. Living in the area where you pay $3,000 rent, $25 cocktail, and who knows, for commercial will turn anyone gray. Yeah, this is a really expensive area. A lot of crazy people. $25, sometimes you get, yeah, $25 can actually be cheap on Friday night. Why do men look distinguished as they get older, but women age like curdled milk? No. Christy Brinkley. Christy Brinkley. That's my argument there against that. Hands sweating the gloves. Not much. I keep the air conditioner on. I have the luxury of a 35,000 BTU air conditioner in my office, so I don't really mind it too much. Let's see. I always wanted to be a real therapist, not one of those therapists that just looks at you and goes, okay, and tell me more. Now tell me more. Now tell me more. Now tell me more. Now tell me more. How does that make you feel? How do you feel about that? Because that's a bunch of BS. I know Handsome Dan, he says rent is a lot. I'm curious. What is Handsome Dan's rent? There was this one time where he asked us, what's your rent? Handsome Dan asked Steve, so what do you guys pay? And Steve told him. And then Steve asked Handsome Dan, the guy who owns the candy store next door, so what do you pay? And he goes, I'm not telling you. And it was at that moment that I lost all respect for him whatsoever. Like before that, if he had an issue, oh, you can borrow a monitor, here borrow a mouse, here borrow a charger. Now it's like, fuck you. Fuck you. It really is those small things that tell you everything about another human being. And yeah, I don't know what he pays for rent, but I don't really give a fuck. Why is that mic so expensive? It's pretty cheap. You ever seen what a Neumann U87 costs, or a U47, or like the tube ones? It's actually fairly cheap compared to what else you could get. Yeah, the therapist and the psychiatrist are going, how do you feel about that? How does that make you feel? How do you feel about that? How does that make you feel? Are often the ones that are just going to prescribe you a bunch of drugs that are going to fuck up your head. And or those therapists or the psychiatrists that take part in the crime of trying to turn boys into girls, you know, at a young age, where like if you don't pay attention. I remember in my school, if you didn't, one of the things that killed me when I was a kid is if a boy didn't act like the girls did, the teacher was always comparing and contrasting the boys to the girls and going, why can't you just be like them? And like all the boys were just considered to be broken girls, or like malfunctioning girls. And some therapists would point out that this is BS, but others would just give you a bunch of medicine until you just acted like the girls. And that's a topic for another stream. That shit drove me nuts as a kid. That drove me out of my mind. And what do you know? All the teachers that I had in public school from K through 5 were women. Imagine that. Anyway, Let's see what that board in the oven looks like. Okay. So how clean does this look? If I attended your class, could you please answer questions I have? I don't teach anymore. I have Jason do the teaching because I had a lot of people showing up that didn't want to learn stuff. They just wanted to talk to me. And that's really weird. It's kind of like when you, like, you know, how do I put this? You know when there's those people that go to hookers and they pay, but they don't want to have sex. They just want to talk. Like, I had that same feeling when I would have people show up for a class and straight up not be interested in learning board repair. They just wanted to talk. I never understood why it was in the movies when hookers would get these customers that just want to talk, they would be creeped out. But there is a kind of creepy element to it. So I stopped doing the teaching altogether. I learned nothing in public school. You and a lot of people. You and a lot of people. That's not your schoolmate, it's society. Tell me more. Yeah. Okay, so this is what my stuff looks like. Okay, it seems like I maybe kind of, yeah, let's see. Okay, maybe I can run through this. I don't really trust that pro point, but that can wait till tomorrow. Tonight is time for drinking. This is soldered, but it could be soldered better. That can wait till tomorrow. What do we have in here? My wire is there. Got my connection on this. And my SMC has been reflowed. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but we'll do for tomorrow. We'll do for tomorrow. Okay. You're right, it's always boys. Stop it. Yeah. There was this one girl, I'm not going to say her name, but there was this one girl in second grade I'm never going to forget because this was the best example of this bullshit bias in public school. And everybody would say, let's make up a name. Why can't you be more like Teresa? Why can't you be more like Teresa? She came to school every day with a dress. She had a bow in her hair. She was always smiling, and she talked like this. Excuse me. Oh, hi, Mrs. Sarah. Hi, can you help me with this question? She was the biggest devil that you could ever, just the worst human being that I had ever met to that point in my life. Like so for example, what she would instead of like hitting you with something sharp, she would start stabbing you in the midsection with a pencil because she knew that the midsection was a little blubbery, a little flubbery, so that it wouldn't leave a mark, so she could get away with it. So at just random times, she would just take her pencil, and whoever was next to her, she would just do this and just like straight up stab them in the fucking abdomen. Then there was this other kid that used to laugh if you cursed, right? So he would always laugh if he heard a really bad curse word. So what she would do is she would wait till he had to pee. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you are with how bad public schools are in the United States, but we have this bullshit system where the teacher can stop you from going to the restroom. So let's say you have to take a piss. You raise your hand and go, excuse me, may I please use the restroom? They have the right to say no. This is the only place in life. What the fuck is What the fuck are you breaking into my stuff? Oh, don't. What are you, ASMR? What the fuck? Fuck. I'm going to throw my tweezers at you. And it's the only place on earth where you can say you're not allowed to pee. Only place. I can't think of any other situation in my life where I was told that I was not allowed to take a piss. But they can do that. So now anytime a kid had to take a piss, what she would do is she would go and sit next to that kid after the teacher said no, and then she would start cursing in that kid's ear and whispering the curses, knowing that it would make him laugh. And once he started laughing, he would then piss himself, because that's what happens when you're in kindergarten or first grade. Such a miserable, awful, god piece of crap human being. And the teachers would always go, why can't you be more like Teresa? And it's like, fuck. The bow, the dress, the nice, and it's like, no, no, no. Everybody has the capacity to be evil. Everybody. And it's just, that rant is for another day. I could spend 2 hours just going through that. That shit drives me, and I remember that that kid pissed himself at least once a week. And you know what the most fucked up part of this shit is that when he would piss himself, he would get sent to the principal's office, and then he would get in trouble for disrupting the class by laughing and then pissing himself, even though this was all being caused by A, him not being allowed to take a piss, and B, the miserable kid that sat next to him, who was a girl, knowing this about him, and then exploiting it for her own personal entertainment. She had a bow in her hair, so it's okay. Oh, God. It's the only place, and it's like the only place in the world where that actually, where you get away with that, is public school. Public fucking school. And it's a prison. It's a prison. You're stuck. If you can make it through public school, then, like, it's one of those things where they say that, how do I put it's one of those things that makes me not want to have kids until I know that they will never have to see the inside of the public school system. I'm serious. Like, I would, and people say, oh, they should have to go through public school because I did. No, I'm not putting my kids through that. Did your teachers ever say you weren't allowed to go to the bathroom when you raise your hand? All right. Time to get out of here. Time to go. We fixed some stuff, and that's about it for today. Let's see. Might as well read the ends of the comments. U47 is much more expensive. It is. I hate people that psychoanalyzing others. You spelled psycho, C-O-C-O. C-Y-C-O. That's scary. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what they have learned in school, Albert Einstein. He knew what he was talking about. Except for a lot of his criticism of the McCarthy era. I disagree with Einstein there. But on that issue, I do. Why did I not get a notification for this stream? Because I'm not advertiser friendly. Swamp is waiting for you. Swamp is. Yeah, why am I still here? I bet Jason is out swamping. It's about time for me to go out swamping. So that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.